It's got a big stone in its hand.
On a lost island along the misty coasts of Scotland, in the harsh winter of 1944, World War II raged with fury. Beneath a leaden sky, torn apart by lightning that echoed like lamentations from hell itself, the Nazi secret services, in an unholy alliance, carried out a forbidden ritual known as Ragnarok. At the heart of a fortress of black stone, eroded by centuries of storms, the Russian sorcerer Grigory Rasputin, whose death had been a deception woven by dark forces, led the act. His tall, gaunt figure, cloaked in a tattered robe reeking of decay and sulfur, cast grotesque shadows upon the damp walls. His eyes, two bottomless pits of darkness, gleamed with a sinister fever as he manipulated a nightmarish artifact, a machine of creaking gears and tubes pulsating with a venomous green glow, powered by energy sources that defied reason. The air vibrated with guttural chants in forgotten tongues, and a stench of burning flesh permeated the room. Rasputin's goal was to open a portal to the beyond, an abyss where primordial horrors dwelled, offering absolute power in exchange for eternal loyalty. Beside him, the icy Ilse von Hopstein, a woman of lethal beauty, with lips as red as fresh blood and a gaze as sharp as a blade, watched with fanatic devotion. Next to her stood Karel Roden, an enigmatic figure encased in mechanical armor emitting clicks and whirs, his face hidden behind a gas mask that exhaled a constant hiss. He wielded weapons forged with inhuman precision, each of his movements defying life itself, as if his body were a puppet held by invisible strings. The ritual reached its climax when the portal opened with a roar that shook the earth. A crack in reality, a black, pulsating eye rimmed with blue flames, spewed freezing winds and whispers that chilled the blood. The shadows in the room came alive, writhing like serpents, as Rasputin raised his arms, his laughter echoing with madness. But destiny had other plans. A platoon of Allied soldiers, drenched by the torrential rain, their faces hardened by fear and determination, stormed the fortress. Bullets whistled, grenades exploded, and chaos erupted in a whirlwind of blood and steel. The Nazis fell one by one, their bodies shattered among the smoldering machinery. In the frenzy, the portal became unstable. An inhuman howl tore through the air as Rasputin, betrayed by his own arrogance, was seized by an invisible force. His bony hands clawed at the void as he was dragged into the rift, his face twisted in terror and rage. With a blinding flash, the portal closed, leaving behind a sepulchral silence broken only by the crackling of debris. Ilse and Cronin, like specters, vanished into the gloom, their fate shrouded in mystery, reeking of treachery and dark magic. Amidst the ruins, young Professor Trevor Broom-Bruttenholm, his face pale, his eyes filled with reverential fear, examined the remnants of the ritual. His heart pounded with an unsettling certainty. Something had crossed the portal before it sealed. His boots crunched over shattered glass when a faint cry, almost human, guided him to a dark corner. There, nestled among shadows and ashes, he found an impossible creature, a being red as fire, with budding horns, a serpentine tail, and golden eyes gleaming with a blend of innocence and ancient power. It was a child, but not human, a miniature devil trembling under the glow of a lantern. As the exhausted Allied soldiers, marked by battle, observed with a mix of horror and awe, Broom knelt beside the creature. His trembling hand brushed its scaly skin, and a strange warmth enveloped him. He decided to protect it, to raise it as his own son, defying the laws of nature and the prejudices of men. The soldiers, their humor darkened by relief, christened the small being with a name that would resonate through the annals of the occult, Hellboy. In the shadows of modernity, young FBI agent John T. Myers felt a chill as he crossed the threshold of the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense, BPRD, a concrete building hidden behind a nondescript facade, where rumors spoke of impossible creatures and secrets that defied sanity. The air inside was heavy, charged with an electric hum and the faint scent of ozone, as if reality itself was twisted. There, the elderly Professor Trevor Broom-Bruttenholm, his face etched with wrinkles like maps of forgotten battles, welcomed him with a gaze mixing weariness and resolve. Without preamble, Broom led Myers through labyrinthine corridors to an underground chamber, where a murky water tank housed Abe Sapien, an amphibious creature with blue skin and eyes like black pearls. His movements were hypnotic, almost ethereal, as he floated in the liquid, and a faded note found alongside him in an abandoned building, dated the day Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, explained his name. Myers, his heart pounding, barely processed Broom's assignment. He would be the personal assistant to Hellboy, the living enigma of the BPRD. Hellboy burst into the scene like a whirlwind of brute force and sarcasm. His red skin gleamed under fluorescent lights, his right hand, a massive slab of granite capable of pulverizing steel, hung like a warhammer. His horns, trimmed down to mere stumps, were obsessively filed, a desperate attempt to cling to a humanity he would never fully possess. Immune to fire, his tail lashed like a whip, and his golden eyes exuded a mix of cynicism and sorrow. Hellboy was a paradox, a demon with a human soul, raised by Broom as a son. Myers, overwhelmed, felt the weight of a destiny he had yet to comprehend. Meanwhile, in the frozen peaks of Moldova, beneath a sky torn by black clouds, Ilse von Hopstein and Karel Ruprecht Cronin carried out a ritual sacrifice. The blood of their guide, a local shepherd whose throat had been cut with surgical precision, spilled over a stone altar etched with runes that pulsed with a crimson glow. The air was filled with the stench of burning flesh and a guttural chant that made the snow tremble. From the shadows emerged Grigorij Rasputin, resurrected in a body seemingly stitched together with threads of dark magic, his eyes burning with apocalyptic fury. His singular purpose was clear: to complete the Ragnarok ritual, the one that had failed decades earlier, and unleash the end of the world. In New York, the BPRD deployed its main team, Hellboy, Abe, and Myers, to a museum shrouded in a deadly silence. The guards lay shattered, their bodies twisted at impossible angles, victims of Samel, a nightmare creature with scythe-like claws and scales that seemed to absorb light. The pursuit was a visceral chaos. Hellboy, grumbling curses, chased the monster through rain-soaked streets into the subway tunnels, where the stench of rot and the echoes of roars filled the air. With a devastating blow from his granite hand, Hellboy reduced Samel to a mangled heap of flesh, but the victory was short-lived. Abe, using his telepathy, uncovered the truth. Rasputin, through an artifact stolen by Cronin and Ilse, had created Samel, a being capable of regenerating from its own eggs, multiplying like an infernal plague. Back at the BPRD, Hellboy sought respite by visiting Liz Sherman, a pyrokinetic with a tormented gaze whose ability to summon flames had scorched her childhood and confined her to a psychiatric hospital. Hellboy's attraction to her was a fire that burned in his chest, but Liz, haunted by fear of herself, kept her distance. Meanwhile, in the New York sewers, Abe discovered Samel's egg nests, each one pulsating with malignant life. Hellboy, in a brutal confrontation at an abandoned subway station, first faced Cronin, whose mechanical armor shrieked as his blades danced with lethal precision. Then, a fully grown Samel, larger and more vicious, lunged at him, its fangs dripping with venom. Bleeding but relentless, Hellboy crushed the monster against a rusted train, leaving the place in ruins. Cronin, cunning as ever, feigned death, his artificial body motionless like a broken puppet, allowing himself to be taken to the BPRD. Meanwhile, Liz, under a curse from Rasputin, inadvertently ignited her asylum, prompting her return to the BPRD, where she began to grow closer to Myers, stirring Hellboy's jealousy as he watched them from the shadows, nursing a pain he refused to admit. In the autopsy room, Broom examined Cronin's body, more machine than man, its inner gears reeking of oil and death. Among the assassin's clothing, he found an encrypted note, but before he could decipher it, Rasputin appeared, his presence a poison that tainted the air. In a voice like a whisper from the grave, he revealed his plan, to lure Hellboy into a trap to awaken the Ogdru Jihad, the infernal gods who would bring the apocalypse, using Hellboy's latent power as the key. With a click of his mechanisms, Cronin awoke, and in an instant, his blade pierced Broom's heart. The professor fell, his blood staining the cold floor, while Rasputin and Cronin vanished into the night. At dawn, the entire BPRD, led by Hellboy, gathered for a somber funeral. The rain fell like tears, and Hellboy, his fists clenched, silently vowed to avenge his adoptive father. But deep within the earth, Rasputin's runes still pulsed, and the echo of an incomplete ritual reverberated, promising a horror yet to be born. Following the clue from Broom's note, the team traveled to snowy Moscow to confront the sorcerer, except for Abe, who had been wounded in the sewer mission. Rasputin's mausoleum was riddled with traps and dangers, but after many trials, Hellboy finally found himself face to face with his father's killer, initiating a ferocious battle. With the help of Tom Manning, the expedition's gruff leader, Hellboy succeeded in killing Cronin, avenging Broom's death. Meanwhile, Myers and Liz, with her pyrokinetic abilities, eliminated the remaining Samel creatures and destroyed their eggs. However, Rasputin and Ilsa managed to capture them, leading them to the site where the final ritual would take place. Rasputin took control of Hellboy by using Liz as a hostage, forcing him to use his right hand as a key to open the portal through which the Ogdru Jihad could cross, turning the sky a blood-red hue. Just as the ritual was about to be completed, Myers managed to snap Hellboy out of his trance, prompting him to rebel, interrupting the rite and killing Rasputin before saving his friends. But from the sorcerer's corpse emerged a monstrous, tentacled behemoth, the residue of all his dark magic rituals, which devoured Rasputin and Ilsa before unleashing its fury. Hellboy fought the beast in one final battle, slicing off several of its tentacles with a stone sword torn from a statue before obliterating it with Myers' grenade belt. The film concludes with Hellboy and Liz engulfed in the flames she herself had conjured, kissing as Myers watches them pensively,